Another glorious summer's day, eh? Just
slightly overcast.
Slightly overcast. You know, nearly in the middle of July. Days are getting shorter.
Oh,
and the skipper's got his woolly hat on and he's got his jacket on. He's got his Guernsey, but he hasn't got the thermal vest on. He left that at home this morning.
Summer's over, that's it.
He did. So where are we going? What are we doing? We are going to head up to the north-west coast or north-east coast of Guernsey, and we're going to have a little look at a couple of shallow shipwrecks. Not quite sure which ones we're going to do. We got a few up there. We got the Foreland, we got the Vedanta, we got the B17, and probably a load more that we don't know and we haven't looked at yet. There's also one on Rocket Nord called the Rontigi, which we've already looked at. If you want to have a look at that shipwreck, go back I don't know, probably a year or maybe 2 years ago now, and check that out on the channel. So today in Guernsey it's all kicking off as the island games have started, so there's loads of sport, loads of road closures, and to be honest the whole island's buzzing because there's so many people. I know yesterday there was a couple of people down at Cobo looking out towards the sea saying, "Oh, it's like the Caribbean." And to be honest, the sea was like crystal clear. So fingers crossed we get the same up here. Rich has been diving this morning as well and said the viz is okay, but now we got a bit of a thunderstorm coming, so we got a bit overcast. We just got to make the most of it. It's not our fault that the weather goes bad on the weekend, and not just that, this morning was glorious sunshine and now it's a bit thundery. So we'll go up and have a look at these shipwrecks. It's been a while since I've dived these, probably a couple of years at least. We don't really tend to go up the north that much, but we'll take a look. Fingers crossed the tide ain't too savage. It's a massive tide at the moment, as you've probably seen coming out the harbour. It's very high on the fish quay. Today we got Molly, Matt, Paul and Richard at the wheel, which is good because that means all of us can get in and do these shipwrecks at the right time. They got slightly staggered slack times, with high water being slack up the Platte-ish, and then it goes as you get further down the west coast, it drops off at different times. So the B17 is about an hour after high tide, and it progressively goes all the way down to Cobo, which is halfway down our west coast, at half tide slack. So at least the weather's nice, and at least we got a little bit of flat water. Like I say, here's all the new dinghies for the island games. Yep, I think we're going up through the inner passage. Garden rocks, yeah, wow. Some little caves, look at that. Little caves, that's a little island on its own, you get stuck on that one. You can see the tide ripping up through here. That'd be a hell of a drift dive. The sun's come out. Get ready. Get a hat on that.
Solar panel for a sex machine. Maybe it's not attached.
Got dodgy wiring.
The old ones look back.
Yeah. Where the Vedanta is probably about here somewhere. So the story was it left St Sampsons, which is down over there, and sailed up, got towed out by the Vixen steam tug, sailed all the way up to the Caskets, which is probably, well, just on the horizon right up there, snapped their gaff rig and the mainsail, tore the mainsail at the top, and then decided to change it and try and repair it. Drifted all the way down to Sark, north of Sark, which is behind that island, and then they come with the tide, and the tide brought them all the way back over this side, down to this part of the island. And they think they hit Rock and Nord, or somewhere thereabouts. They managed to find the island was about half a mile in that direction to the south, and they decided that they weren't going to make it in the boat because it started settling down in the head, so it's going down head first. As it was starting to dive, they managed, all three of them got into their boat, and they decided that they were going to head to Guernsey, and they just let the Vedanta carry on sailing towards Guernsey, and they watched it shortly after dive down. They then landed at Fort Marchant, which is just over here. So it must have been sailing in this direction down this way. And the crew managed to get into Fort Marchant. The captain was Peter Abraham Mahy, and it was an Albert Taylor, which was from Poole, and an Albert Ellsby, which lived in the Banks, which is along the seafront. He headed home, and them two went off to file the report to say they'd been lost. And I think it's been salvaged, and that's as much as I know.
It's full of stone chippings.
Full of siftings, so that's probably why it went down head first. Deep wreck, 21 metres.
Every wreck's anything past 10 is dangerous.
Yeah, true. 10 minutes.
Okay.
10-minute dive.
You can go straight down near bubbles.
Okie doke.
Okay, you're good to go.
Welcome back to the first dive of 4 of the day. It's a Saturday morning, and we've headed north up to a stone barge which is called the Vedanta. First found in the early 2000s by Andy Lowe and his brother-in-law whilst scalloping. Not a very big wreck, probably only about 25 metres long. As you can see here down the centre, there's all the siftings are still left, and there's other parts of the rigging and the vessel that's left. So let's take a little look, tie our strobes in so we know where we're going, not that we can get lost, and we'll go and take a look of what's left.
Is that right? Yeah.
Here you can see the fixing where the wooden deck used to go. This must have been on the side of the ship. Makes sense because it is on the side of the mound, right next to that winch. Now this isn't the best time of year to be diving this shipwreck. Middle of the summer is never good because there is always weed. You can see Molly just pointing out the shape of the mound. This is siftings that were destined for the UK. We're going to head now to what I think is the stern. There's plenty of these steel objects. I'm not quite sure what some of them are. Possibly some of the running gear or the standing gear. Something that probably would have been bolted to the side of the gunnel. Some of these long cylinders are probably shafts. You can see the other boys just trying to work out what it is. Yeah, we're definitely on the stern. I think in the distance is the probably a freshwater tank that would have been on the back. And this object here is something to do with the rudder. See the shape? So not quite sure if this was on the top as part of the steering mechanism, or possibly a gudgeon or some sort of brace that's holding all the timbers together on the rudder. I think I scared this rat out of his hidey hole. This has obviously been down here for a long time. 109 years. This vessel sunk at 2:15 AM on the 13th of February 1914. She was originally built in 1886 in Ipswich, but then she was rebuilt in 1908, originally being a ketch. Her original name was the Lord Shaftesbury. Made by G.P. Gilday of & Co. of Ipswich, he actually built 9 of the Lord classes in total. She was classed as a Spritsail barge, and she probably would have looked very similar to this vessel. The mole is one of these people, they can't look with his eyes, he's got to look with his fingers. He's having a good old look. So let's head this way, Mole. Let's go back down towards the bow area. As we now swim down the starboard side of the vessel, we come against more metal objects. Now, you might be able to tell me what they are, they're just so far rotten now, I can't really tell. This is possibly a winch or a windlass, I don't know. And not quite sure what any of that is. So it's been there so long, it's just all conglomerated together, so it's all concreted together. The top bit does look like some sort of winch. Now, I know I mentioned before it is salvaged. The only way I know it's salvaged is after another article of the Alert. The Alert was another vessel that hit Ypres near Herm, and it actually mentions in one of their reports that the diver Clancy then returned to his duties trying to find the mainmast on the Vedanta. So Clancy was a Guernsey diver, so I'm pretty sure they found this shipwreck and they probably did salvage it. Given it is in 23 metres of water and Doyle Passage, it's hardly in a hard place to get to, and it's in a depth that would very easily be obtainable for the time, given the technology they had for diving. So you can see it's this green and red seaweed all over. It's horrible stuff. A bit like this plankton that's still in the water column. Hopefully that drops out soon as well. This is a central winch which is actually upside down. I believe there's still cable on it, if you look closely. Nice little hidey hole for the small fish. Anyway, we're back to where we started now, and I'm going to call over Mole and get to the front, get to the bow area. If we look on the side here, you can see this is almost like some sort of wheel. Like I say, this isn't a very big shipwreck, and we're almost at the bow already. As you can see here in the distance, one of the bow anchors. That's a nice colourful fish. And here is the winch, probably for weighing the anchors. Let's take a have a look at the first anchor. It's an old fisherman style anchor. I just love how both of these have fallen forward from the shipwreck. It's almost as if everything's rotted around it and it's just fallen. I do sometimes ask myself, well, why, if you're going to salvage a vessel, would these be left here? So I'm maybe slightly doubtful that the old divers managed to find it in the end. See Molly checking out the second anchor. Just shows the size of it. Molly's about 4 foot tall, so he's not 4 foot tall. They're big anchors. Still got 15 minutes bottom time left. We're going to go along the middle and then back up. I can't wind my clock too much because I want to do another dive, probably in about 15 minutes time. So we're going to take in the last little sights on this one. I'm going to head back to the surface and head to our next shipwreck. While we're here, we might as well take a look at the winches as well. Okay, someone's stirred up a bit of dust, or a bit of rust even. So this is a shaft, and there's two sprocketed cogs on the end of some sort. I'm sure they probably would have been for maybe loading the boat or retrieving the anchors. And that's unmistakable, that's a bollard. Every good shipwreck's got a good bollard. Here's a good view of all the siftings that are still left inside it. One last look at the starboard anchor. Then we'll try and drift a little bit higher off the seabed so you can get a little bit of scale of how big it is or how small it is. It's a nice dive. It's probably one of them dives that you do once a year or once every 2 years. Nice and shallow. And while you're up this part of the island, you might as well take a look. So Molly's waiting for me. He's giving me the thumbs up to say let's go back to the surface. He's going to do the untying and then we're going to head back up to the surface again. Molly's doing what every good diver does and check how many strobes are on the line. There's only one left. I've told him it's mine, so off we go. Would hate to leave Matt down here on his own. He won't be too happy. And there's Paul waiting for us. Matt must have already gone up. It's that shallow, you can look to the bottom and then look to the surface. There's not many shipwrecks in Guernsey you can do that. It's that time of year again when the jellyfish start coming out. The blue fire jellyfish. Good old Molly kicks it straight towards my face. Now the only part of my whole body that it probably could sting is my moustache. And randomly, they do actually sting your moustache. With that dive over and done with, I pass back the mat, the shut line, and we head on to our next location, which is a B-17 Flying Fortress. That's the end of part one, and stay tuned for part two where we dive on the B-17 Flying Fortress.